All right, let's dive deep into a practice that's, well, as ancient as it is profound, and modern science is just now catching up. We're talking about therapeutic striking, or maybe its more scientific name, sustained manual percussion techniques, SMPT for short. At its heart, it's the art of using rhythmic, percussive touch to heal. And today, we're going to unpack the incredible science of why this simple, rhythmic touch can be so unbelievably powerful. And that brings us to this brilliant idea, which is really at the core of our whole explainer today, manual somatic music. It's a framework, a way of seeing things. In this model, you've got the practitioner. They're the musician, using their hands, their timing, their rhythm. The client's body, that's the instrument, right, with all its unique tensions and tones. And the brain is the audience, listening in, interpreting, and responding to the music it feels through the body.
But before you can play any music, the instrument itself has to be ready to be played, right? It has to be receptive. And that brings us to the absolute first, most crucial principle: you have to create safety. Okay, so this brings up a really key concept from something called polyvagal theory. It's called neuroception, and you can think of it as your nervous system's built-in, totally unconscious safety detector. It's like a little surveillance system that's always running in the background. Way, way before your conscious mind thinks, hey, I feel safe here, your nervous system has already made a call. And that decision, it dictates everything that happens next.
And this really shows the two fundamental states your nervous system can be in. On one side, you've got this defensive state. You know the feeling, braced, tight, all wound up. In that state, the body is just not open to healing or connection. But on the other side, you have the accessible state, relaxed, open, pliable. This is when the body is ready for positive change and repair. And one of the most powerful signals to get you from that defensive state to the accessible one, you guessed it, predictable, safe, rhythmic touch. So the big question is, how does the body actually receive this rhythmic signal? Well, it happens through this incredible network of tiny sensors in our skin. And you can think of them like a biological orchestra, translating the physical notes of touch into a language the brain can finally understand. Now, in this orchestra, we've got a couple of real star players. First up, you have the Ruffini endings. These are the ones that sense stretch. They give you that feeling of spaciousness and body awareness. But for our story today, the main soloists, the real headliners, are the Pacinian corpuscles. These are the body's dedicated rhythm detectors. And these receptors are, well, they're absolutely incredible. They are so ridiculously sensitive to vibration that they can feel it happening centimeters away from where you're actually being touched. And their peak sensitivity, it's right around 200 to 400 hertz, which just so happens to make them perfectly tuned to hear the exact kind of rhythmic percussion used in this therapy.
And here's where it gets really wild. Groundbreaking research actually shows that when these vibration-sensing Pacinian corpuscles get activated, the signals are processed not just in the part of the brain that handles touch, but in the auditory centers too.
Your body can literally listen by feeling. So with the nervous system feeling safe, the body kind of opens up. It becomes receptive. So let's talk about the audience, the brain itself. Why is it so receptive to this kind of music? Well, it's because our brains are fundamentally hardwired to not just understand rhythm, but to actually enjoy it. So when the brain receives a steady rhythm, something truly amazing happens. It's called neural entrainment. Your brain's own electrical patterns, your brain waves, they start to synchronize with that external beat. They literally start to dance along with the rhythm of the touch. And this process, this synchronization, it's deeply linked to feelings of pleasure, engagement. You know that feeling of groove you get from a really good song? It's kind of like that. Now, this might sound a little abstract, but scientists can actually see it happening. These images show just how complex the brain's response really is. But listen, you don't need to understand all the diagrams. The key takeaway is super simple. A therapeutic beat doesn't just knock on the door. It gets welcomed inside, activating entire networks in the brain that are hardwired to respond to rhythm. Your brain is literally built for this. What does the brain love most in a rhythm? It all comes down to one crucial element: predictability. When your brain can easily predict when the next beat is going to land, it interprets that pattern as safe, non-threatening, and, pleasant. But unpredictability, a chaotic rhythm, that can trigger alertness or even anxiety. Predictability equals safety. So let's look at the neurological hub for all this pain relief. Deep down in the brainstem, there's a region called the periaqueductal gray, or PAG for short.
The best way to think of it is as a master control center for pain. It's like the main volume knob. When the PAG gets these safe, rhythmic signals, it sends messages down the spinal cord that essentially turn down the volume on pain signals coming up from the body. So as we start to bring all of this together, we really come back full circle to that central idea of music. What we're talking about here isn't just about relaxing muscles. It's something deeper. It's about actively tuning our internal state, our neuroacoustic state. I mean, the parallels here are just undeniable, right? A musician doesn't just bang on a drum. They use pressure, speed, rhythm, all to evoke a specific feeling or emotion. And it's the exact same idea here. A skilled therapist uses intentional, rhythmic touch, not just to work on a muscle, but to communicate safety and create a very specific healing response in the nervous system. I love this image because it connects our whole scientific journey right back to the hands-on practice. Just like a musician tunes their drum, maybe warms it to get the perfect tone, and then strikes it to create music, a practitioner does the same thing. They create the conditions for safety, prepare the body's tissues, and then they introduce a therapeutic rhythm. The metaphor and the science, they're really one and the same. So let's put it all together and listen to this full symphony of healing. It unfolds in 4 key movements. First, that predictable rhythm signals safety, calming the body's alarm system. Second, this calm state makes the body more receptive, allowing those vibration detectors in the skin to fully receive the rhythm. Third, these rhythmic signals travel to the brain, activating its pleasure and pain relief centers. And what's the result of all that? A profound, holistic state of deep relaxation and well-being. You know, this quote really just says it all. By understanding the science behind safety, rhythm, and neurology, therapeutic touch becomes a way to actively and artfully play rhythm into a person's nervous system, helping to literally retune them toward a state of harmony. And that kind of leaves us with one last thought to take away. The principles we've talked about today, safety, predictability, positive rhythm, they aren't just for a therapy session. So the question is, what kind of predictable, positive rhythm, maybe it's through music or movement or even just mindful touch, could you consciously bring into your own life to create a more harmonious internal experience? Definitely something to think about.